Last week we showed you a YouTube video that has touched the hearts of millions. It is the story of Christian the lion. You might want to grab some Kleenex because here it is again.
Life treats you kind, and I hope you have all you dreamed of, and I wish you joy and happiness, but above all this, I wish you love.
And John Rendall and Ace Bourke were the guys in that video. They are in Sydney, Australia. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. And I got to tell you up front, I was one of those people who wept like a baby when I saw that video, one of millions. Are you surprised by what a sensation this has become on the web?
It is pretty extraordinary footage and quite humbling, but it's sort of very beautiful, the response.
What do you mean when you say quite humbling?
Well, I suppose 35 years later to find that people are so fascinated by it and have so enjoyed it is it's slightly overwhelming that it's kind of now how many people have viewed it.
And all the comments on the YouTube site, they're so positive. And it is marvelous that so many people are getting so much enjoyment out of it.
You know, John, take me back to 1969, because back then you could actually buy exotic animals at Harrods, but what possessed you guys to purchase a lion cub?
Well, it was an irresistible sight, though we were rather shocked when we saw this cub in Harrods, in a department store, in a very small cage. And not only was he totally entrancing, but we just thought, no, we must be able to do something better for him. He can't stay in a cage of this size.
And we're looking at a picture of him at the back of a Bentley, I think it was. He became a fixture in London in those days.
Well, I think we were living in the World's End. We were working in a pine shop, which was very trendy furniture shop at the time in a very trendy part of London, the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s. It was a very creative, very exciting time to live in London, and it almost seemed natural to have a lion and to have him sitting in the back of the car going up and down the King's Road.
Only thing is, lions do grow up. Cubs become grown lions, and he went from 35 pounds to 185. You realized you had to take him back to Africa. You hoped that you could reintroduce him to the wild, and thanks to George Adamson, the wildlife conservationist, you were able to do that. Then you go back a year later to see Christian, not knowing what his reaction is going to be. When we see this grainy footage of him, he looks at you and then he starts running at you. At that moment, were you scared?
No, not at all. We had such a beautiful relationship with him, and there was such trust between us and such love. So, and he ran towards us with such love and excitement in his eyes, and we felt exactly the same way. We were just so excited to see him looking so big and healthy, and that the story had just turned out so beautifully when it could have had a very different ending.
So you can see in that clip his body language. You know, when he first starts seeing us, he's looking, is it us, is it us? And then suddenly he says, right, this is them, and then down he comes. And there was not a moment that we ever doubted that it was going to be a wonderful greeting. There was, you know, certainly no, people said, weren't you ever scared or thought it might be in any way different? We never doubted it, and I think that's what you see in the footage.
Yeah, but you didn't know whether the wife...
and heavy.
Yeah. You didn't know whether his wife might see as lunch meat, though.
I know. Meredith, no.
Well, no. Could have happened, guys, you know. When was the last time that you saw Christian?
It was 74 was the last time we saw him, and by which time he was double that size, still recognized us. He was with wild lionesses. He had a litter of cubs, and his genes have been passed on back into the wild. And after that time we saw him, he was never seen again. It was like a final farewell. I've done it. He was completely integrated back into the wild.
And John, I know that you're involved in conservation. What do you hope that people will take away from this YouTube experience?
Well, we both, we've both kept in touch with all the people who were involved in Christian's life and helped us raise him, or were with us when we raised him. And when George Adamson was tragically murdered in 1988 in Kenya, his assistant Tony Fitzjohn, who had helped George rehabilitate Christian, founded the George Adamson Wildlife Preservation Trust. And I'm a trustee of that in the UK, and Ace is a supporter from here. And we're currently involved in the Mukamazi Game Reserve in Tanzania, where we're breeding black rhinos, another endangered species. And that project has been very successful, and it will be gazetted as a national park as the process. And this is Christian's legacy. It's an extraordinary story, isn't it? That if we hadn't made that spontaneous decision to buy Christian, have him in London, take him to George, successfully rehabilitated, the George Adamson Trust would not really have existed, and now there is a game park, a national park, as a direct result of Christian's life. It's a wonderful, wonderful endorsement, and we're just hoping that people who've enjoyed this clip, and I don't know how many is it now, it's a phenomenal number, that if they'd like to contact the George Adamson Trust, and in your case in America through the, I think it's www.wildlifenow.com, and support us and support conservation, it would be wonderful to contribute to George's memory.
A real legacy. John Rendall, Ace Bourke, thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I still wouldn't have gotten out of the Range Rover. I'd have been in that thing and waved from outside.
There are naysayers who claim that it's a fake, or they think it's a fake. I don't think so.
No, it looks pretty real.
It looks real to me. And you know what? If it does something for conservation, that's a great thing.
No question.
I wonder if Christian could still be alive.
I don't know.
How long
That's an
lions
old
live.
lion.
Well, yeah. It's a nice line. By the way, if you'd like more information about the George Adamson Trust and how you can help protect wildlife in Africa, just go to our website at todayshow.com. Jim Bell is saying in my ear, I smell a road trip.
Exactly right.
I'll go looking for him. Still to come on Today.